So today I'm talking about dissociative identity disorder, or the other name it has is, getting in a mess here, so bear with me, is multiple personality disorder. And the reason I decided to talk about this today when it wasn't what I'd planned to talk about was because, I'm going to stop typing now, hopefully that's gone through. Yeah, there we go. Was because of an experience I had with a client this morning, and it made me think, well, this is a really interesting subject. It's very relevant to any abuse situation. So I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to share with you what happened this morning, and also my own experience in childhood, where it wasn't quite dissociative order, but it was a disorder. It was a version of it, and I'm going to tell you about that too. So, dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorder. They occur in extreme trauma and abuse situations. They occur very young. They occur in children. And what happens is literally when a child is in an abusive situation that is just too much for them to handle, or it would be if they stayed present, as a way of literally absenting themselves, dissociating from what's going on, they literally create an alter ego called an alter who takes over their body, their personality, their thoughts, their words, their actions. It's that alter that is present while the abuse is going on. And that's what this disorder is. And it's for protection. Now, the problem it creates is that sometimes there's more than one alter. Some people report having as many as 12. One is very common, so that there are the two. I don't like to think of them as personalities, because it's actually just, it's one person, but part of the person has split away to provide protection, but they're all still just the part of one personality. So it gets confusing, but let's just think about it. It's a part of the person that's there for protection. Okay, now what actually happens, the reason it causes so much confusion is that although the host dissociates and has this other presence there, when the host actually comes back, they don't remember. That's part of the protection. They actually don't remember what happened. So they might come back and discover that their body is hurt, or that they are hurt in some way, maybe bruised, battered, or that they feel extremely emotionally scarred, but they don't remember. They don't know why. And that becomes a problem, because as they go forward in life, these people then have huge chunks of memory missing, which obviously makes therapy very difficult, because we don't know what we're dealing with. We know there was an abuse situation, but when they have these huge gaps in their memory, it's very, very difficult to actually then go over the details of what happened. But actually, that's where the kind of therapy that I do come in, because I don't need the details. I just need how someone feels about themselves. That's the basis of my therapy. And we all know that the biggest problem with any kind of abuse, whether it's sexual, whether it's physical, emotional, whatever it is the way it leaves you feeling about yourself. I just remember that. I repeat this over and over and over, because for a lot of people it's a new concept. They think that, oh, sure, the event is a problem. Okay, the event is a problem. The event is what caused you to feel as you do. But we don't need to keep revisiting all the details of the event. What I'm working on is how it made you feel about yourself. So let's talk about this dissociative, that's a difficult word, identity disorder, or multiple personality disorder. And the way that this actually works, and what happened to me this morning. So normally when I'm working with a client, they will have a diagnosis of dissociative identity or multiple personality, and I know what I'm dealing with. Now, the really, really interesting thing is that many, many, many people, tens of thousands of people, are diagnosed with this, and they think that it can't be cured. And I understand that with talk therapy, it can't. But the whole point is that the mind created this. Okay, so it was the subconscious mind that created the altar. And I work on the basis that whatever the mind created, the mind can uncreate. Okay, so people who think that they can't live with this, that this can't be cured and that they have to live with this, it can be cured. It can be cured in hypnosis. It's not a one session thing by any means, and it does depend how many altars there are and what their role is. But the way that I would literally, I think of this, it's like all of these altars, it's like the ingredients of a cake. So they're just parts, and they all have a role to play. If you think that if you're making a cake, the eggs have a role, the flour has a role, and if you leave one of them out, it's going to go wrong. And dissociative identity disorder is exactly the same. It's just parts of the whole. And what we do, we put all the parts back together to make one complete whole person. And I do it in a very particular way, and it's by finding out what the role is of each part or each section of the person. Because what we'll find is that the role belongs to another place. If I'm dealing with an adult, as long as the adult is now safe in their life and is in a completely different situation, then you'll find that the altar that was created for a reason now has no reason to exist. So we do a role, purpose, function, and actually show the person, show the host in hypnosis, and show the altar that they are no longer needed. So if this is about safety, you could have maybe 4 altars that are providing different aspects of safety. So we actually go through that, and we just show that it's not required anymore, and we ask the mind to uncreate it. It's not the simplest process for sure, but it can be done. And people who are living with this disorder and don't want to, they don't have to. They just have to find someone like me who can actually deal with this, because I can. So now I wanted to share with you the reason I decided to talk about this today was because this morning something very, very interesting happened. Normally when I'm talking to a client, I know they'll tell me that they have multiple personality disorder. It might not be why they come to me. They might come to me from the trauma of abuse, but they will certainly reveal that they have this multiple personality disorder, mostly because they think it's a barrier. They think they can't do anything about it. And it might not be the first thing that we tackle, but that's okay. But this morning, I was actually talking to a client, and all of a sudden, this is just to demonstrate really how amazing these personalities are and what they do. And it also demonstrates what I can do. This wasn't in hypnosis, but I still started to get a result with the personality that presented. So I was talking to a client about working with me. And all of a sudden, I realized that I was dealing with another personality, because the other personality suddenly said to me, "Who are you? Are you X?" And I realized that there was another personality here. And I know that that personality is about protection. So all I said was, "Oh no, I'm his trauma therapist. And because I'm a trauma therapist, you can trust me." Someone just come on there. Because I'm a trauma therapist, you can trust me. So the altar then just started to ask me a few questions, and it was clear he wasn't concerned, because I immediately said, "Oh, what's your name?" So I'm conversing. So I asked him his name. He gave me his name, and I said, "Oh, you're like me. You're there to protect him." And he said, "Yes, I'm here to protect him." I said, "Oh, good. So we can work together, because I'm here to protect him too." I said, "So can you give him back to me now?" And he said, "No, I took his phone." So I said, "Yes, I know you took his phone, but I need to speak to him now. And you can trust me, so can you just give him back his phone?" And he said, "Okay." And within seconds then, the original personality was back. But the interesting thing was, the first thing that the original personality said to me was, "What did you say to him?" So he knew that he hadn't been present. He knew that the altar had taken over, but he didn't know what had happened between us. So I just reassured him, and I said, "Oh, that's right," because he wanted to. He said, "Oh, why did he give me my phone back so quickly?" So he knew that much. He knew that the dialogue hadn't gone on for long, but he knew that somehow the altar had chosen to trust me and give him his phone back. And that's exactly what I said to him. I said, he trusted me and gave you the phone back. And then I started to talk about, I said, do you see how he's there to protect you? And isn't it going to be great when we work together and you don't need him anymore? Because when we work together, you'll be able to trust yourself. Now, this was a very foreign concept, and of course, the client was immediately, well, I don't understand how that will work because but he wasn't worried. He was he was interested. He wasn't worried because he knew also that the altar had trusted me. Where did I get to with that? Anyway, so I started to converse with him about how when we do the work, we will get him to the point where he doesn't need the altar because he will be able to trust himself. And that might be a strange concept to him, but as I said, he was more interested in how that would work. And he definitely agreed that it would be a good thing. He was amazed that we could actually do that, but I also assured him that we wouldn't make the altar go until he was ready. The altar is going to be there until he is ready to let it go, until he realizes that the role, the function, and the purpose of the altar, he is now fulfilling himself. And that's very, very important as well, because of course the client needs to feel safe the whole time. So I'm assuring him that I'm not taking anything away from him that he's not ready to let go. And in fact, that's a really good point. In hypnosis, you can never do anything to anyone that they don't agree with, that isn't absolutely in their best interest. So let's say we did loads of work on this and he was in hypnosis and I said to him, are you ready? Shall we let X go now because you are strong enough now, you don't need him. If he says to me, no, I can't make him. If he says no, we're just going to carry on working until he's ready. And that's really, really important to understand that. So now I wanted to talk to you because I have a form in a much lesser capacity, a form of this dissociative order myself when I was a child. And I'm telling you about this because you might see it in your own children, because I was talking to someone about this in their own child just the other day. So when I was young, around the age of 8, I was bullied extremely at school, and it was very traumatic for me. And the effects of that it drove me nearly to commit suicide when I was 45. So this was a really, really big problem for me. It was very traumatic. And what I did, because I didn't like my life, now this is not my home life, this is my school life, but because I didn't like my school life and I didn't want to be part of it and I wanted to be part of another world, and I very vividly remember this, I was an avid reader. And the books at the time, very different to now, but it was Enid Blyton. And the books of hers that I loved were Famous Five and The Secret Seven. And if you can imagine, I know exactly why those books were so important to me, because they were about belonging. If you imagine at school, I was being excluded, I was being bullied for being poor, and suddenly here are these books about belonging to a gang and doing amazing things and having great friendships. And that is where I wanted to go. And I absolutely devoured those books. And the other books, Enid Blyton books they were, and there was one in particular called The Magic Faraway Tree. And some of you might have read it, and it was literally about a tree that led up to a magic world, and it had all these incredible characters. And I read and read and read that book. But I remember for me, it was much more than reading it. I was a part of that world. I didn't dissociate in that I lost my memory or that if someone called me, I wasn't present, but I was very, very much making up a world and trying to belong to places and characters that as a child I felt was so much better than where I was. Okay, so I thought it was interesting to share that because if you have a child who likes to play lots of particular video games, a lot of children do, or likes to read or to do certain activities and they kind of seem to disconnect, it's worth observing that and trying to understand why. You don't want to assume things, you don't want to put words in their mouths, but it's worth observing and understanding why are they so connected to what they're creating. And sometimes it's just worth asking some questions about that, especially if you know they're hurting. If you know they're hurting, you can see them become absorbed in something else in this way. It's worth asking the question, why are you hurting? What has hurt you? Are you becoming absorbed in this because something or someone is hurting you? It's just good to be aware. Anyway, so that's what I thought I would share about multiple personality disorder or dissociative identity disorder. They're the same thing. I think dissociative identity disorder is just the most recent title given to it. So that gives you some information about it. And it also tells you if you are living with this, contact me. Contact me to find out how I deal with this. I've told you a bit about, that's why I thought it was important to tell you how this came up in conversation, how I can deal with it. Contact me. You don't have to live with it. Some people are really used to it and they don't want to let it go. And I completely understand that because it's what you know. It's almost like, who will I be if I don't have this? This is my life. This is who I am. And I totally get that. And obviously that's part of the program that I run as well. It's helping you be who you really are without these alters to support you and to be there and to guide you. And by the time we let them go, you don't need them because you are enough and you can do all those things for yourself. Okay? So anyway, wanted to share that. I'll probably be back tomorrow. I'll probably do another one before the weekend and just I'll try and come up with another great topic. All right, based on what I'm doing. That's what I always try to do, to be informative to you. All right, guys, I'll leave that with you. Post your comments, post your questions, get in touch if you need to. And if you know someone that this information will be really useful to, don't forget to share it. All right, see you.